Hello everyone, nice to see you, and welcome to episode 19 of The Joy of Functional Game Dev. And here in GitHub land, we're at end of episode 18, start of episode 19, which the release is v0.18. It is typically 0 point and then whatever the end of the last episode is. So if you're following along, you can grab the source code from that. And without further ado, the Trello board is looking a little light. We do have a lot of things to polish, but as far as things that we haven't done yet, we mostly have stuff dealing with our GameJolt API. And one of the things that that I didn't much like is here are these constants just stuck in here. I want this to be reusable, I really do. And so, what we're going to do first, we're going to do a type. We call it GameJolt configuration. Just call it GameJolt config. And it's going to be a record, which has a game ID, and that's going to be an int. And we have a private key, and that's going to be a string. And similarly, we're going to have a user name, that's a string, a user token, similarly a string, and authenticated, and that'll be a bool, and that's going to be our GameJolt config. And I think one of the, and we're going to have let mutable private GameJolt config, which is a GameJolt config equals well, we're going to have game ID equals 0. A private key is empty string. Username is empty string. User token equals empty string. And authenticated false. That's equal false. Don't need that. There we go there. Let's start it like so. So now we have that. And this stuff we're going to move into our move into program for now. We're going to have some other things. So we're going to get rid of these. We're going to have one mutable thing, and we're going to have let load GameJolt. I have a load config, which is give me GameJolt config. We're going to have let save config. It's going to take it config is GameJolt config set config. So when we're going to need a init. Let init. Well, we need load and save. So let init config with a game ID and private key. Load config. Can I do this? Am I allowed to do this? With game ID equals game ID. private key equals private key. So let me do it? Of course it will. Alright. I'm going to load that. And then that we're going to save config. So that's cool. We can init that. Set user, username token. We're going to similarly do a load config with username equal username, user token, and we're going to save config. And then we'll be cool there. So we'll do GameDev API, set user. Okay. Making the request. So we're going to need our... Well, for now we will just completely hide it. So let config equal load config. And this will be the config dot. Wait. That's the private key. Config dot private key. Alright, take that out of there. What else does it need? So make the request, take the private key out of the config that we load. We don't need to save anything. Okay, for this we're going to also need config equals load config. And it's going to be config.gameID, config.username, config.userToken. We're going to do maybe save. Alright. Well, the result equals success response. Well, it tucks it away. Alright, so config with authenticated equals result equals success response. Will it be okay with it? And then dot success response. So authenticate user will now return that, then return result equals success response. Type unit has game jolt config. Well, let new config equal that, and then new config dot authenticated is the result. I really don't need this bind. Oh, you know what? I have to, I gotta save it, don't I? So then really I can return load config dot authenticated. I reload it, and there it is. Good enough. Alright. Well, as the user authenticated, we just return that. Well, I guess I can do this, can't I? I duplicate things is user authenticated. And that's all cool. And everything else is everything else hunky-dory. That is so bizarre for things to be... Is it going to build? Nope, of course. Of course not. Oop, there we are. Well, I reckon judicious use of this. Blam. Blam. I'm willing to bet that'll clear that up. Up. And I gotta grab. I don't actually need it unless I do that. Not going to load it. And this thing right here, these are practically identical. It's really just a, hey, what am I printing there? Maybe we'll fix that. Not right now. Do we build? Get built. Build succeeded. Yay, okay. So that'll still work. And, pardon me, it's dry. It gets very cold and dry in Wisconsin this time of year. But so, we've now done that, and now there's an actual... Oh, still have to initialize, don't I? Have to GameJolt bi.initial init config with my JG game ID, JG private key. Okay. Now we're still authenticating based on the fact that we're on the command line. Oh, and then one other thing that I wanted to do is for all of these, well, in some cases, alright, well, let's get over to the GameJolt API. GameJolt API. Never give my private key. Of course, I've given it to all of you. Of course, I trust you. Why wouldn't I trust you? Overview. Learn more. Okay, so here we are, and I want game API documentation. Alright, so with the scores, I want to fetch the scores. Because I'm in the high score screen, this is something I need to do. So I need the game ID. And I don't think I want to retrieve scores just for the user. Okay, and then so I'm only using the primary one, so I don't need the table, and the limit is 10. So that's cool. So I don't need so I really just need the game ID and the limit. Well, I don't even need the limit. I just need the game ID. So in order to grab it out, I just need the game ID, and here is my URL. Let's get to it, shall we? Let get scores equal. And we'll put that there for now. I don't even care if the user's authenticated. I can go ahead and make this request without the user. So, as printf, put that in there. Still on the, okay. and game underscore ID equal %i. So, but I do need load config. And that's going to be config.gameID. I'm going to grab it. It's going to make the request. And then, well, I want to do a thing. So, my update. I have a type. I have the help state, option state, the high score state. Really only want to alright. I'm going to go to the definition. And this is how I want to do this. I'm going to have a type of a high score record. High score is, and it's a record. And let's go over to the documentation. What do we care? There's a score. Don't care about the sort value. So I got score, sort, extra day, the score. I got the user. Don't care about the user. I care about the user, and I care about score user stored. Score user stored. A score, that's an int. I got a user, that's a string. And I got a stored, and that's a string as well. Okay. Of high score list. So, not help state. The high score state. So, the high score list will be my game state. So whenever I go there, it's going to have to grab out the list of high scores. And so that's going to cause an angry sort of, okay, it's going to cause an angry compiler. Hey, this doesn't work. High scores and high score state, high scores. So draw high score state. Delta assets. So board state always comes, okay, so and then high scores. Okay, and that's going to make it unhappy. Some more unhappy. And go to the definition of that. Maybe. So under the render, draw high score state. Where are we? Oh, it's right there. And we're going to have high scores. Okay. There'll still be some angriness because whenever it's setting up the high score state, the high scores need to be set. There's failed. Because what are you angry about? You are angry that the high score state, and we're going to have where's it at? So GameDev API get scores. But even that is not so It's not returning the right thing. So list.empty, and is that under board state that happened? Board state.highscore. Request ignore. So that should be the right value getting returned in the GameDev API. How do I do this? Values of a function cannot be applied. Dot get scores. What in the... Oh, this is update. Update is below GameDev API. Oh, my goodness, see. Remember, kids, it's a function. So I still want to put it this way anyway. Build failed, but why? Okay, update high score state. Oh, does it also have high scores? Blank, okay. Delta high scores. That's all groovy and cool. But the thing is, when I'm in here, I need to go let scores equal that. Because I'm kind of interested in what this is going to be. Run the program. Okay, so now I go to high scores, and now scores are of signature is invalid, which means I gave myself a new key. Did I? Sure did. Didn't update it. Yep, because I updated right after these. And I probably also don't have the right one of those either. Game token. That's true. Don't have that. And I'll be changing that too. So hard to explain these things, and it's really a good educational thing. Okay, score says true, and then score sort extra data. So really, what goes on here? Let's take a look at the. Take a look at the text visualizer. So what happens with these is it's just key value pairs. And stored 1 day ago. So in this case, every time there's a score, then really, so the first line, okay, so the first line is whether or not it it happen. So I need to take the scores and close all but this. And what we want to do is we kind of want to string.split. Well, because what is scores at this point? It is a string. Scores split. And I want the separator's a string. I always have to look up string. So what I want basically to split it on /r/n. Does that work? No. So new string. Nope, that's how that's how it would look in. So, okay. Remember where we are. /n. Does that work? Come on, do something right. String, and then I have the system.string split op. So I need the string split options. System.string split options dot what does none mean? We'll remove empty entries. Why not? And then it has, okay, so let lines equal that array to list Alright, we're actually going to go first, and I haven't done a lot of these. So I'm going to say it's very true. Let lines equals that match lines with if it only returns me one line. What happens here? If it only returns me one line, then I didn't possibly get anything. So well, I got one line. Well, if I match an empty list, then I obviously return. What do I have to return? I have to return. I return this. Okay. But if I have head, actually it's just anything else. Head, tail. See, success response, that's an entire success. If it is that, if head equal that, then else. Okay. So it has to be success true. If the first one is, if the head is that, then too many of those. Alright. If head is that, then, well, we'll just list that empty else. Okay. No matter what, returning an empty list just because I want it to compile. Alright, but in the case that it's true, then I have to process the scores. Let private process scores, and that's going to be lines, which are a string list, equal and that's going to return that at the moment. Okay, and we're going to process the scores. We're going to take the lines. We're going to take tail, send it to process scores. Otherwise, give me an empty list. Okay. We'll put our breakpoint here because we know we're going to get to that. We're going to run it. Okay, go to the high score. And lines, there are 14 of them. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How to process four or 30. So I need 7 things. Alright. I need to yeah. There's a way to do this. Alright. I'm going to process the scores. Okay. We're going to stop you. Alright. Rec. So it's going to be... This is a fold. This is very much a fold. Okay. State. Ugh, come on. Yeah, I don't need this. This is a fold. Alright. But it's more... Gotta think. Because really in the end... Okay, let's say I do it recursively. Because I can get my head around the recursiveness. So I start with high scores. Those tail butts, I gotta... So wait, no, that goes here. That goes over here. Starts there, and those are the lines. The tail goes in there. And we start with an empty list of high scores. To make that go away. So rec, does that have to go? Apparently that's where that, okay, so I start with, it's really just high scores. So I match lines with I'm going to F9 it here, and I'm going to take a look again at what this looks like. So the lines, I've got score sort, lines, score sort, extra data user, how about we stop this? We're gonna, okay, I'm gonna do this. Here, I'm gonna need the lines. There it goes. There's scores. Give me the text visualizer. I want to copy that someplace. We're going to stop it. So, don't need that one. We've already taken care of that one. Okay, see. Alright. So then, we're going to do this. We're going to match lines with score, sort, extra data, user ID, guest, stored, tail. And anything else? If there's nothing left, then there's that. It's high scores. And I do have a wonder as to which one. I imagine this works, but let's see. Before 5-bit, match lines with, so which one? Okay, so it goes this one. So stored, guest, user ID. Alright, so I got this will be the high scores, and I'm going to add, because I have to process these things out. Well, processing it out should be relatively simple. So you strip of the thing. Do I even care if these are ints or whatever? I really don't think I do. I care not. Whether it's an int or a string bothers me not in the slightest. But, okay. So, let's let strip value there's text, and we're going to, its text is a string. We're going to text split. And that has to be an array of those. Let tokens equal that. And then it's going to be tokens dot substring. Nope, sure there's okay. Now we'll make some very, very dot number 1 dot substring. I don't know. There's a start index and a length. All right. We're gonna go let quoted value equal that. Why is it angry? Oh, right. So we're going to go quoted value dot substring 0 based, so it's going to be 1, comma, quoted value dot length minus 2. And that should do it. And we're going to do, we're taking high scores, and high scores is a, let's make sure it's correctly typed here. I think this is going to be it for today list. So we're going to go high scores. We're going to add the list dot add append. What's in it? It's score user stored. Equals, so score is score strip value that list dot append. Oh, is there a, I want to add something. I want to add something. Oh, it's actually this, and are you an array? No, you're not an array. So there's going to be this, high scores. We'll score, strip value, and this will be something else, strip value, stored, strip value. Am I doing something wrong? It is a score. Failed, why? Do I have board state in here? Open board state. And suddenly it knows about that. Okay. So this one for sure. Okay, so this one, if this is the last guy in there, if you've only got 7 left, then it's going to be that. If not, it's going to be that. We're going to put that in parentheses. We're going to go lines. Tail process scores, and that's absolutely insane. Is that going to work? Huh, maybe that'll work. That'd be very, very cool. As usual, time has flown. So, do you work? Tail process scores. Well, I guess I don't really know, do I? Alright. I have no Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to, when I'm rendering the, so when I draw the high score state, the high scores should have it. Alright, high scores. Don't need you. So what does the high score say? There's a list. Board state high score. Up, down, then okay, that's alright, because that just means I did something a little silly. Alright. That's user. That one's user. Stored. 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 I can smell it. What? Oh, and then that's or whatever we matched. Ha 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 ha. Huh. Well then, actually, then the tail. I may not even need that line. I'm hoping I don't. And my high scores I got. Okay, so I did not need that one. 2 days ago, and users play these games. Alright, that's me. And now what do you say we... How tall are we? We're 720, right? I'll just call you 720 minus 30. And you know what we're going to do here is we're gonna get them printed, and then we're done. We're done for today after we have some high scores showing up on this screen. So we're gonna high scores list.fold. It's gonna be fun accumulator high score ac plus 30. And it's going to be 30. What don't you like? And it's going to have the list, and I'm going to ignore. Okay, so super cool, and really this this gets it to compile. But what I really want it to do here, and I don't know how far I have to. So it's going to be 0. This is high score dot user. We'll call you at 250. We'll call you at 500 and 750. And stored. Okay, so this all works. Then we get ourselves a high score table that really comes from there. Not super robust or anything, so it has to work. But, well, let's find out, shall we? Okay, so, well, would you look at that? Need to work on my storing. At the moment, the sort is kind of, it doesn't matter. I don't care. This is a big victory. It means I'm going out there, I'm grabbing my high scores, I'm bringing them back, I'm processing them, and I'm rendering them on the screen. And that's a good day. And I will take it. And that's going to be the end of the episode. Thanks so much for following along, and we'll see you next time on The Joy of Functional Game Dev.